And President Trump, fresh off a rally in Erie, Pennsylvania, monitoring the deadly storm moving through the southeast coast. He joins us now on the phone. Mr. President, welcome to Fox News at Night.
Hi, Shannon.
Great to have you with us. Let me start by asking you about the hurricane response and coordination. I got to confess, I grew up there in the Panhandle. A lot of folks I love were hit today. I know you've talked to several of the governors. How does it look?
Well, it was a tough windstorm. The wind was probably more dangerous than anything else. I was just listening to Rick where it was third or fourth ever in recorded history, and that's exactly what it was. So to a certain extent, we don't know because it's so dark and all the electric is out, but we hear there's a lot of damage, and it's tremendous wind damage, tremendous. A lot of things are blown over, hopefully not houses with people in them.
Mm-hmm. You were criticized tonight by some for going to the rally in Pennsylvania. I want to give you a chance to respond to your critics who said it was political. You shouldn't have gone during the storm.
Well, if I didn't go, they would also criticize it. The problem I had, Shannon, is this was set up a long time ago. We had thousands of people lined up from yesterday. I mean, literally, they stay 24 hours and sometimes more than that to go to these rallies. They like them. You probably saw the pictures on television tonight. Thousands and thousands of people outside after the arena. It was a big arena, but it was full. And we had to have 15 or beyond that, 1,000 people outside. And so you had these people waiting for hours, many hours. And if I didn't go, that would have been the wrong thing, too. And more importantly than anything, we have people in Florida. We have people in the White House. I had everything set up on Air Force One. I was in total communication. In fact, I spoke with the governors of Alabama, the governor of, as you know, of Georgia. I spoke with Rick Scott. We were in constant communication, did the rally, and people had a fantastic time. It was a very important rally tonight. But it would have been very unfair to have people waiting for 10 and 12 and more than that hours and then say, by the way, I'm not going to be there tonight. Would have been pretty tough.
Well, and Mr. President, as much as they like to go, we know you like to go, too. I mean, you'd love to be out there campaigning as much as you can. Just under a month to go now to the midterms. Politico had this headline yesterday. It says the GOP House is crumbling. A lot of folks who turned out for you in 2016, are you confident they'll show up in the midterms as well?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get out. I mean, I guess people like me because you see what's going on and you see the poll numbers. We came out with 52 today at one of the big polls, and we're doing. And they say there are a lot of people beyond that when they hang up, they say that's a Trump voter, and that's my kind of person. But the fact is that I think we're doing really well. I'm looking at the Senate votes, and races that we were not even going to contest, we're now winning. If you look at North Dakota, if you look at, I could name 4 or 5 of them, but I don't want to jinx myself by doing it. But many of the Senate races that we didn't think we were even going to be contesting to a large extent, we are now leading. We have some great candidates, and very importantly, we're finding the same thing now with the House. A lot of it has to do with the horrible abuse that now Justice Kavanaugh suffered last week at the hands of these Democrats. They went absolutely crazy. It was disgraceful. I think they disgraced their party and they disgraced themselves.
Well, let me ask you about that, because today the FBI director, Christopher Wray, was on the Hill and taking a lot of questions from some of those Democrats, some of them who are on the Senate Judiciary Committee and who really opposed now Justice Kavanaugh. And they were pressing the FBI director on whether or not you or others at the White House tied his hands when it came to their supplemental investigation they did in that 1-week delay. What do you say?
Well, what did he say? I'd be curious, because I was out there working very hard on the hurricane and other things. What did he say?
Well, he basically said there were some things that he couldn't divulge and that it was carried out by standard procedure. Right. And there are a lot of folks wondering if you would release the FBI scope letter that directed them.
Well, I'd do whatever really the Senate wanted, because, look, the Senate was well run, so well run by Senator Grassley. And whatever they would like to do is okay with me. If they want to release, it's okay. And if they don't want to release, I could understand that also. But again, it was going to be their vote, and I let them do whatever they wanted to do. And that included the investigation itself, what they wanted. And if they wanted something, they would have either let us know or they could have directly let the FBI know, as far as I would be concerned. So obviously the reports were very strong, because everybody that read them came away and said everything said was totally uncorroborated or not true. And I think it was a disgrace, frankly. And I am glad we went the extra week, because by coming the extra week and going the extra week, we ended up exactly with that. So It was in many ways a very sad period of time for this country to have a man like that go through what he had to go through, and his family and his young daughters to go through a situation like that where they were leaking, and I think a lot of people think they know who leaked it, but where they were leaking, where they were doing things and saying things that were inappropriate. I think the Democrats disgraced themselves during the hearings.
What do you think about Dr. Ford? Do you think she went through a tough time? Do you think that she was acting on her own? Do you think she was acting on political or party pressure?
I just don't have an opinion on that. It was 36 years ago. There were no complaints during this long, long period of time. When it came right down to it, she didn't know how she got there. She didn't know how she got back. She didn't know really the time or the year. She didn't know the house. She didn't know the section, the area. She just she knew that she had one beer. She said she had one beer. That's about it. So, do I have a statement to make? No, I'm not going to make any statement. But I can tell you this: I really believe you need a lot more than that to take somebody who was a world-class student, who was a hard worker, who never had a problem. And this wasn't covered. But if you take from the time he graduated from college to right now, he led a very spectacular, clean life, a beautiful life. And if he didn't, he was a high judge, second highest court, as you know better than I do. If he didn't, that would have been reported in the newspapers almost like it would be reported if I did it.
Well, and with some minor exceptions, I would say most folks thought that you were pretty restrained when it came to Dr. Ford commenting on the Kavanaugh process. Was that difficult for you? Is it something that you think you'll do with other major issues as well?
Well, I really liked the job the Senate did. I thought they were dignified in terms of the Republicans, that is. They didn't have to take that time. They could have taken a much earlier vote, as you know. Mm-hmm. They waited, they watched, they asked the FBI to do a seventh investigation. Don't forget, that was the seventh investigation, Shannon. So they asked for a seventh investigation, and obviously it was very strong. Susan Collins and Lindsey Graham and everybody that went in to read it came out and said, wow, it was, number one, they thought it was thorough, and number two, there was nothing there. So I'm glad we took the extra week. And people have said I was restrained, and I think that's good. But I was restrained also because the Senate really was doing their job as they were supposed to.
Let me ask you something else that's come up tonight. As far as this involves the Senate and foreign policy as well, this issue about this missing Washington Post journalist, the Saudi man, Jamal Khashoggi. There is conflicting information coming in, but Senator Corker himself, obviously a Republican, said, based on U.S. intel that he's seen, he says everything points to the Saudis being responsible, that he's disappeared or that he's been killed. The Turks say the same. The Saudis completely deny that. What does this mean to our relationship with the Saudis? If you become convinced, the administration at any point becomes convinced that they're responsible for his death or disappearance?
Well, it's a terrible thing, and it certainly would not be a positive. I would not be happy at all. And I guess you would have to say so far it's looking a little bit like that, and we're going to have to see. We're doing a lot of work on it, but it would certainly not be a good thing at all.
What about the senators, a bipartisan kind of talk now that they would block any further arms sales to Saudi? Would you support that?
Well, I think that would be hurting us. We have jobs. We have a lot of things happening in this country. We have a country that's doing probably better economically than it's ever done before. A part of that is what we're doing with our defense systems, and everybody's wanting them. And frankly, I think that would be a very, very tough pill to swallow for our country. I mean, you're affecting us. And, they're always quick to jump that way. I'd have to find out, really, before I discuss this, I'd have to find out what happened. And we are looking, and so are other people. Turkey's looking, and a couple of others are looking. Some very talented people are involved, and we will get to the bottom of it. I do hate to commit to what recourse we take at this. It's just too early.
Have you narrowed your list or made a decision about replacing Ambassador Haley?
The incredible thing, first of all, Nikki was fantastic. And the incredible thing is I really have 5 or 6 fantastic people. I think they'd all do the job really well. And the answer is yes. I don't expect to be adding anybody to the list, but we have some really talented, brilliant people that will do a great job. Probably over the next week or two, I'll announce it. Nikki's going to be here, as you know, till the end of the year. And so anybody will be working with her for a little period of time at least, which will be good. But at some point in the very near future, I'll be announcing the name.
Okay, you can come back here at 11. Anytime you'd like to announce, Mr. President.
Your show is great. I think I'll do it.
Thank you. All right, let me ask you about a piece you wrote today, going after this Medicare for all idea. You, in that piece, call the Democrats radical socialists. You say they want to turn the U.S. into Venezuela. Not surprisingly, Senator Bernie Sanders has responded. He says you're lying about his proposal, and he says the polls show that Americans want what he's proposing. Your response?
Well, I don't think so, because basically if you do what he says, you're not going to have a country, and you are going to have Venezuela, and you're going to have to lift up your taxes by 3 times. You know, we've been cutting taxes, and we're giving great health care plans. We just came out with another concept of a plan today that a lot of people are liking very much, and we are doing a real job. And you know, we got rid of the individual mandate that people hated, which was horrible. That was the Obama plan and Obamacare. We're also keeping the premiums down at a much lower level than they ever were under the Obama administration. And we had it beat, other than one senator, or you could put it differently, you know, when one senator late in the evening happened to vote against it, shockingly, even though he campaigned for 8 years against it. You know, we had it done. It was repeal and replace. But we're coming up with we're really coming up with alternatives that are just as good, and in some cases maybe even better. But we've been able to keep the premiums down much lower than they had previously during the Obama administration, and that's good. And that's really through good management of health care. And we have things happening on health care that are going to be very, very exciting. But if you look at Bernie, and nobody ever says it, but the country is not rich enough to even think about doing what they want to do. And number two, if you did what they want to do, it would be lousy health care, really lousy health care. And I think you understand that very well. So we're right on it, and a lot of people are saying we're right on it. And if you look at the polls, I mean, I'm seeing polls that are showing us, as per the first part of our conversation, that the Senate, everybody says we're doing very well. But the House, I think we're doing almost as well with regard to the House. Well,
let me ask you, though, with the polls that show the House slipping away from the Republicans and into the hands of the Democrats, do you think the polls are inaccurate purposely? Do you think they're flawed? Do you think it's that people aren't answering questions because they happen to be Trump supporters and don't trust pollsters? What's your response to the bad numbers?
Well, I've had many inaccurate polls, and I've had some that were, I found Rasmussen to be very accurate. Actually, the Los Angeles Times was a very accurate poll. Business Investors Daily. I mean, we had some polls that were very accurate having to do with 2016, but we had some polls that were so far out, and we knew they were phony polls, I mean, as far as I'm concerned. But this isn't about that. I think that polls, you know, they call it a generic poll. Mm-hmm. And actually the Republicans are doing well in the generic poll, but I don't know that a generic poll means anything because they're individual races, the House. There are many individual races. I think we're doing really well. We're looking at races that we didn't think we were going to be winning, and now we're even and up. But honestly, we're not going to know until November 6th. Mm-hmm. We're really not going to know. And we'll see what happens, whatever it is. But I'm out there working hard, doing a lot of different things for House members as well as for Senate. They all want me out there, and we're getting tremendous crowds, and we're getting the word out. We're getting the word out. I
want to make sure I ask you another health care question before we leave that, because your critics say that you and Republicans are stripping away any pre-existing health care coverage in these plans. They say the plans are cheaper because they offer less. Will you commit to covering pre-existing conditions?
I have, but I have for months. In fact, if you've listened to my speeches, pre-existing conditions, I'm saying it's being covered 100%, and Republicans are doing that. And there was a time where that wasn't being done, and there was a time for many years where it wasn't done at all and not even thought of. We are 100% for pre-existing and covering people with pre-existing conditions. And I actually, if you'd look at my last for many months, speeches, I cover pre-existing. I say we will cover pre-existing conditions. The difference is the Democrats won't be able to do it because it doesn't fit in their plans and it doesn't work monetarily. They will never be able to do it.
Tomorrow you've got a special guest for lunch. Kanye West is coming to the White House.
I do.
How does this work? Does he tell you what he wants for lunch? Do you pick what he's going to get for lunch? Does he get to order when he gets there? How does it work?
Well, that was never discussed. And also Jim Brown, who's the greatest running back maybe ever in the NFL. I mean, Jim Brown is a great, and he was a great lacrosse player. Some people say he was a better lacrosse player, and yet he was the best football player. He's a great athlete. But Jim Brown is coming. Jim's been a supporter from the beginning of me. And, when you look at the unemployment, where it's the best in the history of our country, black unemployment is at the lowest level ever in history. You look at median income for African American, it's at the best it's ever been in the history of our country. I mean, I'm doing things for the African Americans that have never been done by the Democrats. And as you know, the Democrats really have had that vote. They've had that vote locked up. It's not so locked up anymore, because I'm producing numbers that they were never able to produce. So it's a great thing. And Kanye West saw that. Kanye is a smart guy, and he saw that. And he saw that a long time ago. Jim Brown saw it. I could name many other great black stars and athletes that are on our side. You know who they are, and you report about them. We have a lot of support. We have a tremendous amount of support. And it's gaining all the time because I'm producing. When you look at numbers like that, when it's the best in the history of our country, how can somebody fight that?
How long does the Attorney General stick around, Mr. President?
Well, we're going to see what happens. Let's all see. The nice part is that everybody's working together. I really have a great cabinet. Everybody's working hard. They're all working together. And as you can probably see, things are going very well. We finished the big deal with Canada, with Mexico. We finished the deal with South Korea. We're winning with China. China wants to make a deal badly. We're winning with China. We're winning at every front, and that's the way I want to keep it. We're doing very well. We'll see what happens with the Attorney General. We'll see what happens with some other positions. But I will say we have a great cabinet. I think we have one of the best cabinets ever.
How would you rate? I'm going to give you 3 senators. Who's your favorite? Mitch McConnell, Chuck Grassley, or Lindsey Graham?
All of them. I like them all. Don't get me into that. You get me into a lot of trouble. This could be your toughest question. No, the easiest thing, look, Chuck Grassley is a strong guy, gruff, okay? And I say that in a very affectionate way because he's a great guy. He did a fantastic job. That was not easy. And then they send the phony paid, protesters in, screaming all the time. And frankly, they let them scream because they discredited themselves, and they were all put up by the Democrats. They actually admitted it. The Democrats admitted that they worked with these people. It was terrible. But Chuck Grassley did a great job. As you know, Lindsey was outstanding. I mean, Lindsey was just absolutely outstanding. His level, he just couldn't believe what was happening. It was so nasty and so false and such fabricated stories and lies. Lindsey Graham was incredible. And I'll tell you what, Mitch, and I've been a fan of Mitch. A lot of people don't know this, but I've been a fan of Mitch for a long time. And we have a very good relationship, which, again, a lot of people don't know that. We've had a lot of success together, and Mitch was fantastic. So, really, all 3 were stars.
All right. One last question to you before we go. The Dow today, a lot of folks very concerned about what they saw. I know that you've had some theories on that. Some of your critics say that it's in part because of the trade war with China.
No,
what do you make of it?
No, I don't think it's that at all. I mean, the trade war with China, we're taking in billions of dollars in tariffs from China, from Chinese goods, and it hasn't hurt us at all. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars. We're going to make product here that we're now buying in China. No, that wasn't it. The problem that I have is with the Fed. The Fed is going wild. I mean, I don't know what their problem is, but they're raising interest rates, and it's ridiculous because we're winning. I don't call them trade wars. I say we're doing a little bit of battle, not much, But China, we put $250 billion worth of tariffs and potential tariffs at 25%, and we have $267 billion more if I want to do it. But they want to make a deal. Hey, you said, and we all said, oh, Canada will never make a deal. Well, Canada made a deal. That's a great deal. We opened up Canada for our farmers. You look at Mexico. We made the deal. Look at the horrible deal that we had with South Korea. That was totally thrown out and renegotiated, and now it's a good deal. We'll make a great deal. So that's not the problem. The problem, in my opinion, is Treasuries and the Fed. The Fed is going loco, and there's no reason for them to do it, and I'm not happy about it.
All right, one more thing. On this issue of civility today, we heard from the former Attorney General Eric Holder saying, instead of when they go low, we go high. He said, when you go low, it's time to kick them. Hillary Clinton has said, we don't return to civility until the Democrats either get the House or the Senate back, because power is now the only thing Republicans understand. But when you talk to or press people on that, they'll say, you started this whole thing by encouraging people to, rough up protesters and by going after people with nicknames and all kinds of things. How do you respond?
Well, I don't think so. My rallies have been very peaceful. And even at the beginning, when there seemed to be conflict, they sent paid people in to disrupt our rallies. And when you do that, bad things happen. But they were the ones that started everything. So, no, it wasn't us. It was totally the other side. I would have a rally, and paid people were going into those rallies causing trouble. And in many cases, it didn't work out so well for those people.
But not okay to punch them.
Shannon, paid people were in those rallies. But when I hear Holder making a statement like he made today, I think it's a disgrace. And Hillary, I really understand. She just doesn't get it. She never did. She never will. And that's why she lost the election.
Well, I think we all hope that we can get back to some form of civility where we can have disagreements about tough subjects and respect each other in the process. In the meantime...
Well, I hope so, too. I do. I hope so, too. I hope we're going to be able to do that.
Mr. President, we really appreciate your time, and feel free to come in or call.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shannon.
Have a great night.
Goodbye.